Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. How is everybody doing today? How are you doing today? Today, we are talking about the film You, Me, and Tuscany. So, welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. This is perhaps the most important movie that we have seen in a while. And I want to talk about it today because we need some joy in our lives. Just straight up letting everybody understand we need some joy in our lives right now. So let me get myself together here. I don't know why I'm struggling here today, but we are talking today about You, Me, and Tuscany and why it is so important for us to have that movie. If you have been like I have been, looking at the news, we have the Justin Fairfax case where he murdered his wife and himself, Dr. Wanzer Fairfax. We have Ashley Janae, the influencer who was found dead on a birthday trip, essentially in Tanzania. We have the 8 children who were murdered on, I guess, Sunday it was. So the news has been absolutely relentless. But today, your girl, Yasmin Shiraz, is going to give you permission to exhale because the movie You, Me, and Tuscany, I was feeling very heavy with everything that's been going on. And I had not seen it when it first came out opening weekend. I know, bad Yasmin. But I decided to go today. I went to go see it, and I'm so thankful that I did because it really lifted my spirits to the point I said, I'm going to hop on live and we are going to talk about this film and why this film is so important. And so why was it important to put Black love on the screen in Italy and why we need to talk about it. So you know, it's heavy. Life has been heavy lately. And I sent out a newsletter. My newsletter goes out on Thursday. And I talked about the topic of my newsletter today was do what you can and let go of the rest. Lightness and joy is almost like resistance, right? Lightness and joy is like resistance. And we need to add some light and joy into our lives right now. We need that. Okay. And, I love a rom com. I'm sorry. I love a rom com. Let me go and see if anybody, and let me take that sorry back. I am not apologizing for loving a rom com. If you stay in with me on this live, you are going to hear about Will Packer, who is the producer of the movie. I'm going to give you some background on that. There may be a little bit of spoilers because I am going to share with you some of the plot, okay? I'm going to do that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the supporting cast of this movie. And we're going to talk about, like, again, why this is so important right now. We're going to talk about, and, I am a writer and filmmaker myself. And so I am going to talk about the different things that are really, really important about this movie and why we need to support it. And if it's still out there in your theater next to you, why you should still go and why you should still see it. I'm going to give you a little bit of background in this live on Halle Bailey. I'm going to give you some background on Jean Page. I got to give you that. And I'm going to tell you about how the box office and the reviews and black cinema. So we're going to go over some really great pieces in this particular live. So it's not just going to be a review, but it's going to be talking about black cinema and why we should be supporting some of the things that we should, in fact, be supporting. And so let me just see if I can get my photo up here real fast so that everybody can be on the same page. And let's see if it comes up. But yeah, so I hope everybody is enjoying yes, hello somebody, and there you go. Let's see if I can get it on. Oh, okay, so there it is. So Black Love went to Italy, you guys. That's the topic of today, and we're going to get into our just make sure my chat is good. So let me just go on to chat. It's on mute. So if anyone, let me say hi to chat so the chat knows that I'm paying attention. All right, so chat knows I'm paying attention. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this was actually released on April 10th. The film was released on April 10th, 2026, distributed by Universal Pictures. It's directed by Kat Chiaro, and written by Ryan Engel. I don't know these people, but they did a fantastic job. It is produced by Universal Pictures and Will Packer Productions. But Will Packer is a black filmmaker who went to FAMU. I am a Hampton University product. I always support my fellow HBCUers, okay? And so clap around, hand claps around for all of my FAMU people. You know, I think they are the Rattlers, if I'm not mistaken. So let me give you a little bit of plot. I literally just got done from the movie an hour ago, and I wanted to come in. I was so touched by it. It made me feel so good, this movie. And I was like, wait, there must be other people who have seen this movie. We need to do a live and let's talk about it. And so here we are today with Black Love Went to Italy. So basically what it is that Halle Bailey, who is the lead with Janine Page, they are basically this couple. And when Halle's character is named Anna, she's an aspiring chef who has abandoned her culinary desires after her mother's death. And so now she's sort of like trying to figure out what she should do. I thought that was such a relatable thing, especially I thought that was a relatable life choice. I thought it was a relatable when death hits somebody, when you are impacted by someone's death. I think drifting is such a apt description of what happens, because it's almost like that person was your anchor. So what happens in the movie is, and this might have some spoilers or whatever, but I'll try to like not have many spoilers to it. But anyway, she loses one job in house sitting or whatever. She doesn't have any housing, and she meets one guy, and she ends up going to Italy. And so I didn't really spoil it, but she ends up going to Italy, and she ends up meeting this wonderful, wonderful family. And wrapped in all of that is where the rom-com aspect comes in. So I'm not going to tell you all of the story. My biggest criticism about this film, I wish it was real. I wish you could go over to Tuscany and meet somebody who's so dope that you're like, yeah, okay, this is now my life. Let me go and let me make this happen. And so this is something that is super interesting to me. And I'm not going to give you guys any spoilers, but I feel like this film talked about some universal themes, you guys. Grief. She dealt with her mother who had passed, okay? And trying to find yourself. I think one of the biggest things, my husband passed away 7 years ago, it'll be 8 years this year. And I feel like I'm finally on the other side of it in terms of, rebuilding my life. But you really do go through this finding yourself period when someone very close to you passes away. So this very much might feel like an Eat, Pray, Love story in a way. But it has Black women in the center. And I have to give my girl Halle, her flowers, because there's something about when she shows up on screen to me where it's like it's a little magical. Like it really, I know we talk about black girl magic all the time, but it's almost like when she shows up on screen, she has this quality that you believe in the fairy tale, right? So her, acting and her presence and her essence and the things that make her her, when she comes every time, I'm telling you, if you guys go see this movie, if you go and when she steps in scene, she has this quality about her and you just want to root for her. And so I had, hats off as well to the casting, whoever did the casting for this, because I thought the casting for this was absolutely phenomenal. I think she was great. And I need to get Renee. I should have looked for a sounder for his name, because I had been calling him, well, it doesn't matter what I'm calling. His name is not that. So let's move on. It's not what I've been calling him. So, but let's go into Will Packer, you guys, because we have to support the people who are telling our stories. Okay. We have to support the people who are telling our stories. So Will Packer is from St. Petersburg, Florida, right? He was born in 1974 on April 11th. So he just had a birthday, Will Packer. So happy belated birthday, Will Packer. He graduated magna cum laude from FAMU with a BS in electrical engineering. So again, he is a producer and he's a filmmaker, and he had, right? But his background, he has a BS in electrical engineering. And I say that to people because sometimes you go to college, you get your degree, and then you end up thinking, man, I really would like to do such and such, but I'm a so-and-so. Don't let that stop you from your dreams, right? Don't let your degree stop you from where you think you're going. I am technically a sociologist. Technically, that's what my degrees say, right? But I use my sociology in doing story and writing TV and writing film and writing podcasts. So I don't deny it, but don't allow what is said on your degree to stop you from pursuing what you feel you should pursue. Will Packer Productions. He is the founder of Will Packer Productions and Will Packer Media. He is a member of the Academy. So when our guy Ryan Coogler won that Oscar this year, I bet you Will Packer voted for him, right? In 2024, he became a limited partner of NFL's Atlanta Falcons. And so we're talking about Will Packer, who is really the man behind this Black Love, went to Italy, you, me, and Tuscany story. He is the man behind it. Let me tell you how he got his start. While at FAMU, he interned with producer-director Warrington Hudlin. In 1994, him and his fraternity brother, Rob Hardy, made their first film, Chocolate City, for $20,000. And Packer personally brokered a distribution deal with Blockbuster. And let me pause for a moment right there and go back. Will Packer, as I shared, has a BS in electrical engineering. One of the things that people don't realize is that engineers are typically problem solvers. STEM majors have a tendency, my son's a math major, and I've learned through watching him, they're very much solving problems, okay? And so when you have somebody like Will Packer, how is he able, based on his background, he's an electrical engineer, because they're problem solvers, and getting a film out, going through casting, coming up with the idea, getting into theaters, marketing it, making it profitable. Those are all problems that have to be solved. Okay. And so he co-founded Rainforest Films with Hardy in Atlanta, and their mission was to make genre films starring Black people for Black audiences. Super, super clear as to what they were doing. In 2000, you guys may remember this if you're old enough, Trois became the fastest $1 million grossing film independently distributed by African Americans, and landed in Daily Variety's top top 50 highest grossing independent films. I remember Twa. I remember that, and it launched, and then they launched Will Packer Productions in 2013. So that's just a little bit about Will Packer. I think it's so important. It is for me, and I would imagine for some of the people in my audience. I like to know the story behind the story. So if I go support a film, I want to know, well, what's the background of the person who put this on film? And so that's why we're talking about Will Packer today. Let me share some numbers with you guys. More than 30 features produced or executive produced, right? His films have grossed over $1 billion worldwide. We hear a lot about Tyler Perry. We don't hear as much about Will Packer, but Will Packer has been quietly stacking up the film resume as well. He had 10 films that opened at number 1 at the U.S. box office, right? And there's only one of only a handful of Black producers in history with that distinction. So we have to give him, excuse me, we have to give him his flowers. He was featured in Variety's 10 Producers to Watch, Ebony's Power 100, and covers of Essence and Black Enterprise. He also produced the 2022 Academy Awards Oscar ceremony. I'm going to give you a few films of Will Packer's just to see if you all are paying attention, right? I'm going to give you some of the Will Packer films. Stomp the Yard, right? This was the breakout film for them. If you remember Stomp the Yard, man, them dance sequences with Columbus Short. Yes. This Christmas, that Chris Brown was in This Christmas. That was good. Obsessed. Takers, that was with your boy Idris. That was good. Think Like a Man. They had Steve Harvey, and I want to say, wasn't Michael Ealy in there? That won BET Award for Best Movie 2013. Ride Along. That's with, I want to say, Ice Cube and Nia Long. And that was in 2014. That was the number 1 at the box office. Think Like a Man 2, which was the follow-up. That was in 2014. Straight Outta Compton. Oh, my goodness. That movie introduced us to Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jr., who looked just like him. And he did a good job playing Ice Cube. I swear. I know those people was probably like, man, we stepped back in time. Girls Trip, which came out in 2017, arguably his biggest cultural moment, very critically acclaimed. Night School in 2018, and What Men Want in 2019, and also Little in 2019, and The Photograph in 2020, and that was with Issa Rae. So this is the type of person that we need to be supporting this product, because these are some really good movies. And I'm sure some of you remember these are some of the things. So this is Will Packer beyond the numbers. And he is the man behind, okay, You, Me, and Tuscany. And so let's talk about the stars. Halle Bailey, Regé-Jean Page. Okay. Now, this part of it, I love their pairing. And it's so interesting because Regé-Jean Page, we were introduced to him, I want to say, in Bridgerton. Thank you, Shonda. And he has such a superstar quality to him, James Bond quality to him, leading man quality to him. However, in this movie, he really played sort of the round the way guy in a very upscale and sexy way. Like it was very, very interesting. His take on this character. Excellent. But let's get into Halle Bailey, who plays Anna for this movie. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background now on Hallie. She was born March 27th, so she just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Hallie. She turned, I guess, 26 because she was born in 2000 in Atlanta, and she was raised in Mableton. I know exactly where Mableton is. She's one half of the Grammy-nominated R&B duo Chloe times Hallie with older sister Chloe Bailey. She's signed to Beyonce's Parkwood Entertainment. Bey recognized her talent early as a singer. She released an album in 2025. It was so fantastic. I did a couple TikTok videos. She and Chloe taught themselves instruments by watching YouTube tutorials. And so this is really interesting when someone says, and I've seen her, I think she collects guitars. I've seen some videos of hers where she has different guitars and she seems just so committed. But understand what I just said. Her and her sister taught themselves how to play instruments by watching YouTube. You know what I'm saying? People out here in this world, y'all, they make a lot of excuses, but people up here teaching themselves how to play instruments, okay? So father Doug Bailey managed the duo, and the family relocated to Los Angeles in 2012. And so it's just very interesting. I want to put a pin in it there, but like when people make it, a lot of times they have family support. That cannot be overstated enough, right? That we all need support. And so when I guess the father and the mom saw the talent that those two young ladies have, they relocated the family. Okay. This is very important. Like nothing is done. Like there's all these solo practitioners out here, and hey, I get that. But a lot of times, people need to be supported. Let's talk about Hallie's acting career a little bit and see what we can glean from that. She had a recurring role as Sky in Grownish. I enjoyed that show. NAACP Image Award nomination. But her breakout film role, y'all, I know y'all know what it is. Ariel in Disney's live action The Little Mermaid, right, in 2023. And in this role, if you remember, this was historic casting, right? Because the people were like, oh, Ariel is white with red hair. How you gonna have a black girl do it? And Disney stood behind the casting. It stood behind it. And let me tell you, Disney didn't become Disney by not knowing what they were doing. The film grossed $569 million worldwide against a $240 million budget. So, they made over $300 million for casting this young lady. That's the numbers. That ain't my opinion. Those are just the facts. But what I like about her is her casting, faced online backlash, but she always handles it, whatever she's going through. You rarely see her lose composure. She's very much, she just has that energy and spirit about her. And I just like that about her so much. Her performance was praised by critics when she was in The Little Mermaid. And Part of Your World, that was, universally celebrated. And for my aspiring actors or actresses out here, this is another teachable moment in that, when you're going and you're climbing the ladder and all these different things, and people just want to, see you at the end of once they want to see your success. But as Rich Paul, I just heard Rich Paul say this, I want to say today, they want to be responsible for your success, but they don't want to help you do it. I don't know. I think I messed it up. I'm sorry, Rich. But what he's basically saying is people want to see you successful and benefit from your success, but they don't really want to support you through the process. So the thing of it is that no matter how much it glitters, all the glitter isn't gold. And here she was getting this historic casting, but still had to deal with the backlash. I'm sure be nervous about, like, gosh, are people going to watch this movie since there's been online backlash? What if I'm not the right person? What if people won't come and see it? And guess what? They showed up. All right. So she played Nettie Harris in The Color Purple in 2023 that was produced by Oprah and Steven Spielberg. And her debut solo album, Love or Something Like It, was released in 2025. And I shared with you guys, I really loved her album. I'm a fan. So you guys, listen, I'm sure I sound biased because I am. I really like her. I think she's dope. But her songs, I should have prepared some stuff about her album, but there are plenty of songs on her album that were just really, really good. And she's mother to my little favorite nephew that I never get to see anymore, Halo, who was born in December of 2023 to her and DDG. But he's cute as a button. So one of the things that I think I was alluding to when she comes on screen in this movie, and why Black women, it gives us something to be proud of, it gives us something to participate in, is that she has this openness in her acting and this authenticity that sort of draws you in, right? And you see that as with her character, Anna, you know, she nails it every scene. Like, you know what I mean? It's never over the top. It's never too much. It's never underdone. And I think that that was one of the things that stood out to me in this particular movie about her character, was that it was, you know, she had, you know, she's being dishonest and, you know, throughout, blah, blah, blah. But you still rooted for her. You still wanted her to win. And I think that as Black women, we want people to root for us. And so I think that this movie is going to connect with people. So if it's still playing, it's not even been out a full 14 days as of this recording, please go and see it. I was the only one in the theater when I went today. I was loud and clapping and being ridiculous because that's who I am. All right, so let's go to Regé-Jean Page, who played Michael. And again, we have Shonda to thank for us even knowing who he is. He was the guy from Bridgerton. He was born April 27th. Oh my goodness, all these people, him, Will, and her, he's getting ready to have a birthday. He was born in London, England, and his mother is from Zimbabwe. Okay now. Okay. Your mom from Zimbabwe. Okay. And his father was English and was a preacher. Okay. So he grew up partly in Zimbabwe, and he attended a primary school called Goromanzi Committee Primary School. He moved to London for secondary school at age 13. He has dual British and Zimbabwean heritage. Pause. I did not know this about him. So y'all, I'm up here learning up on the podcast, learning up on the video today. So his mother is from Zimbabwe. Well, go ahead now. He trained at the prestigious Drama Centre London, graduating in 2013. He also studied at the National Youth Theatre as a child, and theater apparently runs deep. He performed in productions of The History Boys and The Merchant of Venice. Pause, y'all. So again, Regé-Jean Page, who we met from Bridgerton, his mama from Zimbabwe. Come on now, we learning something. Let me go ahead. I might have to do my little thing on that. We learning something. We learning something today. Okay. All right. So let's talk about his career. A lot of the career stuff is, of course, going to be from the UK. Early TV, he did something called Waterloo Road on BBC. His major, wow, his major TV role. I'm telling you, I love doing this with you guys because I'm learning so much at the same time. I swear to you, I'm learning about his major TV role was Chicken George in the miniseries Roots in 2016, his serious breakout. Now, this Chicken George was originated by Ben Vereen, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a TV and film buff. This was a very, important character in the Root series. In the original series, right? So I'm learning. I didn't see the miniseries Roots. I struggle, if I'm going to be completely honest with you all, I struggle with seeing multiple slave stories and multiple violent stories and stuff like that. I be sad afterwards for so long. Like my mental can't really take a bunch of slave stories. It's just very difficult. He was also in ABC legal drama For the People in 2018 to 2019. And then he was Simon Bassett. This is where we know him from. Simon Bassett and Duke of Hastings in Bridgerton season 1, Netflix 2020. Yeah, so that's when, because he was up there getting his freak on. And then, right, like, wasn't his storyline, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, correct me if I'm wrong, but his thing was he wanted to be bedding the women, but he ain't really want to impregnate nobody. And then when he found out that the girl might be pregnant, he was like, losing it. That's the whole thing I remember about season 1. I don't know that I remember anything else. Okay. He won an NAACP Image Award for Outstanding Actor in a Drama Series. And I'm going to tell you, when he came on the scene, you guys, in 2020, it was a mere 6 years ago. But man, whew. People was like, man, we just was on top of him. Like, we was on top of it. So he got an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. He was featured in Times Magazine's 100 Next list, right? A profile written by Shonda Rhimes herself. We can't thank her enough for introducing him to us. We know. And the film Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves came out in 2023. The Gray Man in 2022. Black Bag in 2025. And now, obviously, he's starring in this movie, You, Me, and Tuscany, that has been out 13 days. I would say about his presence on screen and his essence as well, it's very different. He's somebody who I would say Black women want to see more of on screen, right? Because he has this refined, essence about him, right? Like, he's intelligent, but he's not like too much. He's not over the top. Like, sometimes you'll have these people, either they're like too pimpish or too buffoonish. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be a little much. And he has this quiet sophistication about him. And he showed up in this movie. He really did. He showed up. So today, everybody, my name is Yasmin Shiraz, and we are talking about You, Me, and Tuscany. And we want to have a little fun. Why are we talking about a movie on the Yasmin Breakdown? We're talking about a movie today because we have been covering all sorts of crimes that are going on in our community, and we need some lightness. Your brain cannot take just negative input. So today I said, let's bring some light into this situation. And I made myself, listen, I got my ticket for, I bought it on Fandango at like 8:00 this morning. And I said, I'm going to go, and then I'm going to come on and we're going to do a live and we're going to talk about this. And so a lot of people have shown out for this movie. So let's just start talking about it. The production, let's do some box office numbers, you guys. Let's do some box office numbers. And it's not too late for us to still contribute to the box office numbers. But I would say get your butt in the theater now, this weekend, as soon as you can, because it's probably going to be gone very soon. The production budget was $18 million, which is pretty lean, if I'm being honest. It's pretty lean for a rom-com. Opening weekend, and that was from April 10th through the 13th. And let me, make a confession. I should have been on opening weekend, and I had intended to be on opening weekend. I don't know what happened. I've been super busy, but listen, if you really want to support Black films, you need to go to the theater opening weekend. And why is that? Let me break it down. Let me break it down right now. I want to make sure I'm sitting up high enough so everybody can see me. The reason why you want to go opening weekend is because it's an indicator of the interest of the film to the world at large. So when you can be all concentrated 10 to 13, like for them, April 10th to April 13th, and they make their money back opening weekend, well, now it's going to have maybe a longer theatrical run, and we want to support our stories. And so I will do a better job on that on my end, because I from the moment I saw it, I was like, I saw the trailer and stuff. I was like, well, I support Halle Bailey anytime, but I was like, oh my God, I got to see this. And so opening weekend, they got 8 million domestic, right? So they made 8 million. So that's out of the 18, they made 8. I hope. Okay, well, let me do the other numbers. Okay, great. And that was in 3,151 theaters. They debuted number 4. That's not too shabby. Okay. International opening weekend, 1.1 million. So now we're at 9.1 million, 18 million budget, right? Then the global opening weekend, that means what did it do across the globe outside of the US? It did 9 million, right? So now we got 9.1 on the one side and 9.1, that's 18.2, right? So what they're saying as of this podcast, as of this recording, they are saying it's at about 17.9 million worldwide. And they projected in the second weekend, which we would have already had, the second weekend would have been last weekend, it should be around 23 to 25 million. So they're not taking an L, okay? You needed to clear the $18 million budget. They needed to clear that. They cleared that. And now if they get between 23 to 25, they're 7 in the black. Y'all know I like a good math equation. I'm going to reset my hair tomorrow. I know it's looking crazy today. All right. So, but let me tell you who's been showing up to these box office, to the box office reviews and the audience reception. Let me tell you who's been showing up to see You, Me, and Tuscany. Okay. 80% female. This was basically the girls' movie of the spring. And that's why I'm saying, ladies, we need to keep supporting this movie. 53% of the audience was between the ages of 18 and 34. Pause. I can understand that because her character and his character definitely fit between that particular age group. But I could see older women going to see it because, hey, you like a love story. Love, as my friends say. Okay, 40% black on Friday opening, meaning that when it opened on that Friday, black folks were showing up. Y'all remember when we showed out for the Black Panther movie? We had our Wakanda gear. We was not playing. So black audience showed up on day one. And I'm saying to you today, we got to keep on showing up. Let's keep showing up for this movie until they, kick it out of the theater, and then make sure we stream it. All right. 30% Caucasian viewers, 14% Latino, 6% Asian. Okay. It's playing the best in the East, the South, and the South Central in our communities, right? So people in the South, they love some Will Packer. In the East, the East Coast, what I'm saying? Now the West Coast, they be trying to say they the best coast, but they ain't been supporting this movie like they should. All right. The top single location gross in the nation opening weekend was AMC Madison Yards in Atlanta, 23,000. That is amazing. So Atlanta showed up and showed out for Will Packer and for You, Me, and Tuscany. It is rated, you guys, A-. Audience loved it. Rotten Tomatoes, man, Rotten Tomatoes be a Rotten Tomato sometimes, because sometimes who is reviewing the movies on Rotten Tomatoes, right? But it got a 64 percent. But it's important to note that when it comes to black films, I don't know that you go to Rotten Tomatoes and look for them to tell you how it is. I don't know if you do that or not, because I don't think they're reliable when it comes to black film. Now, again, we need escapism. There are a lot of things that are going on, and sometimes people think that we can just work, but we can't. We need a break. Your brain needs a break, okay? And so a movie, a rom-com, is something that is somewhat of an escape for us. And as dark as the world feels right now, joy is a form of resistance. Finding enjoyment in something is a form of resistance. And so I'm encouraging you to make sure that you're pouring a little bit of joy in your day on a regular basis. Okay. Now let's hear some critical reviews. I want to share some critical reviews now of what's being said. Hollywood Reporter called it welcome escapism. Okay. The film verdict said it has all the heft of a squash blossom and it's similarly tasty. Okay. They called Halle Bailey winsome and winning. Okay. So it's very interesting. It said some reviewers noted chemistry between leads felt still finding its groove. Side characters, I don't know. I felt the chemistry between them was good. I personally feel, I felt like it was done really well. And so that's what I'm going to say. We don't need this to be an Oscar movie, but it was still a good movie. And so like when people are looking at movies, sometimes it's like, what do you want this movie to be? This was a movie where Black love went to Italy. It had a relatable character. It had a relatable story. It had grief in it that is totally relatable in the Black community. And it ended where, someone felt that they found a place where they belonged. So it's completely a place of hope. So I don't know what they want. But I wanted to share with you, as I always do in the Yasmin Breakdown, we always share history and culture. And I wanted to share with you guys about how many Black films were released in 24 and 25. And the reason that I want to share is because, one, we need to know, our voices matter, and we need to uplift and understand that there are people out here who are doing the work, and they need to be supported, because if they're not supported, right, the content goes away. So 2025 was described by multiple outlets as a standout year for Black cinema and a remarkable year for Black storytelling. And that's so interesting, because I didn't feel that way at all. But let me tell you, this is what some of the research is saying. There were 35 plus films from Black directors were released in 2025 theatrically and on streaming. Now, let me see how many of you guys have seen these movies. So if you are listening and you have seen these movies in the chat, put down that you've seen them in the chat. And I'm going to try to, type and talk at the same time. Sinners. Okay. Sinners is one of the, movies that's Ryan Coogler's horror film with Michael B. Jordan. It got critical success, and also it was a commercial phenomenon. He also Michael B. Jordan won his first Oscar off of that movie. Ryan Coogler won a screenwriter Oscar off of that movie, and I did a video about it. Okay, now so that was a critical phenomenon. One of them days, Keke Palmer. Did I see that? One of them days, I did not see that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a no in the chat. I didn't see it. Hedda. And let me just say something. Hedda. Did I see Hedda? No, I didn't see Hedda either. But let me say something about horror movies. Pause. Now I feel like Mace. That's what Mace on his podcast. Mace is always like, pause. I, generally speaking, am not a person for horror movies. Now, I did The Sunken Place or not the sunken place, Get Out, because it puts you in the sunken place. I did Get Out and I did Sinners, right? But I am not someone who generally likes horror movies because I feel like they're going to give me a nightmare when I come home. So I am not someone who does a lot of horror films, and no shade to the horror people. The people how horror, writers, directors, filmmakers. Now, for Ryan Coogler and Sinners, his writing is so top notch, and we experienced it with Black Panther. We experienced it with Creed. His writing is so top notch that I felt in going to see Sinners that the writing, no matter what this thing that would have scared me about this movie, the writing was going to carry me through. And because it's Ryan Coogler, and it always does. And so that's why I saw that. So no shade to horror people if I have no on you. It just means that I didn't see it. Love Brooklyn. I didn't see Love Brooklyn. I don't know if it was, I know I got to step up my game. I didn't see it. So I'm putting it in chat. I didn't see it. But F1 featuring Damson Idris, and he did a good job on that movie. Yes, I saw it. If you are in the chat, we are talking about the Black films that were released in 24 and 25, and which ones did you see? F1, that was with Damson Idris and Brad Pitt. I definitely saw it. Opus, did I see it? That had Ayo Edebiri. Did you see it? I did not. So I'm going to go ahead and put no in the chat. The Knife, I did not see. The Knife, The Man in My Basement. No, I did not see those. Okay. Now, I know I got to step my game up. I used to do much better than this. So this is what I'm saying. This is why I love doing content, because I expose my own blind spots where I'm like, man, I'm not supporting enough film. The Color Purple movie, I didn't see that. Again, how do you feel about remakes? We'll have to do a talk about remakes. I think that remakes are important, but for the people who already have seen multiple iterations of it, you read it in the book, then you saw the movie, the original movie, and now you got a play, and now you got a new movie. Like, at some point, the people who saw the original product, like, they might be 2 iterations in. They not trying to watch every iteration of that. No shade. So American Fiction was released. Rustin was released, you guys. Origin was released. And franchise films, Captain America, Brand New World with Sam Wilson was released. I saw that. And then Sneaks was released with Anthony Mackie and Chloe Bailey. And so we're going to have to do a job of seeing some of these films, because they're saying that it was a standout year for Black cinema. And so on this show, I always do more critical thinking, but I want to bring TV and film into the space because supporting Black film at the box office matters, right? Your ticket, the only language that Hollywood speaks, I'm telling y'all right now, is your ticket is the vote. Hollywood speaks green dollars. And when a Black film succeeds, the studio green lights more Black films, okay? When it underperforms, they basically say, well, you have limited, nobody wants to see your movie, because if they did, guess what? They would be watching it. Okay. So the reason why we gave in this particular broadcast, we talked about Will Packer and we talked about his success, is because he knows what he's doing, and he's been putting out good movies for, gosh, if it's not 20 years yet, it feels like it. It probably isn't yet, but it's very serious. Supporting Black actors in leading roles expands the type of roles that they are offered, right? So Halle Bailey Halle going from playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid, which is really sort of like a teeny bopperish in a way, right? Because Ariel is still living with her dad in the ocean, right? She's a teenager. And now she's playing a 20 something who might be falling in love in this rom-com. That is a nice step up, I think, for her, right? It shows how people can see her on screen. And I think, again, she did a great job. Now, historically and culturally, rom-coms have really been a white genre. And by Will Packer placing two black leads in a Italian villa and distributing it through Universal, that's a project that we need to support, right? And we want more black rom-coms. So thank you, Will Packer, wherever you are. Thank you so much. And so the data, we came out and we showed out you guys for Sinners. We came out for Black Panther. We came out for Girls Trip, right? And all of those films, they overperformed because we showed out. And so I just want you guys to realize that it's not only about the movie, it's also about your mental health and you realizing that you need to pour some joy into your life as well. And sometimes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes of escapism is enough to help you. All right. So, we need light. And that's one of the things of why I wanted to do this on the Yasmin Breakdown. If you've been watching my videos this week and my lives, it has been really, really heavy, right? We just have been dealing with a lot of death in our community. Justin Fairfax and his wife, Ashley Renee, the 8 kids. It's just like every time we turn around, we are talking about violence, murder, suicide. It's been really, really heavy. And sometimes people think that because it's not happening in your household, it's not impacting your psyche. And that's not really how it works. If you've seen any of the research when it says, hey, the longer that you're scrolling or whatever, it can make you feel down. That's because of all the inputs of information that you are getting to your head, and your brain is just like one negative story, another negative story, another negative story. And so the reason why I did this broadcast today was to remind you, you've got to add some joy into your life. If it is a movie, that's fine, whatever, but add some joy into your life. It could be, I like bowling. Nobody in my family really likes to bowl, but I love to bowl. All right. Joy is resistance. Okay. Now, Angela Davis said, you have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world. And you have to do it all the time. Part of that transformation is insisting on Black joy. Okay. So again, we have a responsibility. A Black woman laughing at Halle Bailey stumbling into a Tuscan villa is a revolutionary act when the world wants her to only process pain, right? And so when you think about it like that, what we're basically saying is we're going through so much and people know that we're going through so much. And so they're throwing more things at us, right? They're throwing more things at us. But the reality is, if we can step out of what we're being thrown, the things that are being thrown at us, and we go and we laugh and for 90 minutes in a theater, or we go joke, or we go to the park and we go roller skate, or we do whatever, then we have taken that focus from that negativity or from that frustration, and we've put it in a different space. And that's very important. And I know when my husband was alive, we would go to the movie. We would have date nights on Fridays and so forth. And he would pick a movie and then I would pick a movie and different things like that. There wasn't always a great movie to watch. So sometimes we would skip and just go out to dinner and not do a movie or whatever. But people often trivialize the importance of a rom-com. But what I want to talk about rom-coms, because I almost want to say a rom-com is almost my favorite movie because of the escapism in it, because of the hope in it, because of the love possibility in it. It doesn't mean, that I'm saying you got to live your life like you're living in a rom-com, but it gives you something that has some pleasure, some delight, some laughter. It involves love and, and safety to a certain extent. And it is just such a welcome relief from some of the horror stories that we are seeing in our daily lives. Last week I was looking at some news and a woman was like, a pregnant woman, I want to say, was like shot on the highway going home inside of her car. You feel what I'm saying? I need a rom-com in my life. So guys, I'm going to wrap up tonight. Thank you so much for coming on with me. But I want to give you a closing thought and some calls to action, if you will. You, Me, and Tuscany is probably not going to win an Oscar. It's not going to change any policy, but it might make a Black woman smile on a Saturday afternoon, on a Friday evening. And that matters. That counts. Take your sister, your girlfriend, your mama, whoever, right? Give Will Packer some coins. Give Hallie her flowers. And give yourself permission to feel good for 2 hours. Give yourself that. And if you want, I would love for you to leave a comment on the video and say, hey, do you like rom-coms? What was the last Black feel-good movie that made you happy? I'm going to tell you all one of my favorite ones. I can't say it was my last one, but Love and Basketball is still one of my favorite Black love stories. Love and Basketball. Yes. So, all right, you guys. So again, this was sort of a review, a breakdown really of You, Me, and Tuscany. It was released on April 10th. So it hasn't even been out a full 2 weeks. It may still be in the theater where you are. I saw it today and I was so inspired. I came on, I got some notes together, and I said, I'm going to go on live and I'm going to talk about this movie, and I'm going to talk about Will Packer, and I'm going to talk about Hallie, and I'm going to talk about why the Black community and Black women need this movie right now. Black Love Went to Italy. So I thank you guys so much and I appreciate you. And please, that was one to grow on. Leave a comment and I'll see you next time. Peace.